Alright guys, welcome back. For this video we're looking at a special game called Dwarf Fortress, and this doesn't have as many players as it should due to many reasons, such as having a steep learning curve, some issues with graphics, and altogether being more of a work of art really than a traditional game would be considered. But still, I think more people should see this game. And so in this video, I'm going to look at how you can go from the exe file to having a fully made adventurer that you can use to play the adventure mode. So the first thing you're going to need is the Lazy New Pack. And I've put a link to this in the description. So you can just follow that link and download it. And you should be able to get the same menu I have here. Now, all it does is it includes a bunch of different quality of life improvements to the game that make it easier to play, such as graphics packs and some extra options. But all you need to do is press Play Dwarf Fortress, and once that's done, you should have this screen that looks like this. Now, with Dwarf Fortress, you don't actually get a set game world to play in, so the first thing you have to do is actually create a world. And this does this through random generation, and there are an exceedingly large amount of random variables involved, so it is very unlikely you will ever get the same world as someone else. Now, the first thing we're going to do here is change one of the options in the world generation. And this is really, you can tell it's kind of a special option because it's the only one I want to change. It's the only one that will make adventure mode so much easier than normal. So once you get to the advanced world creation screen here, you're going to want to choose what size of world you want, and I'm just going to choose a small island. I can now press E to go to the advanced parameters, and you don't need to worry about all of these things, peruse them at your leisure, but I'm just going to go down to one specific option, which is the number of bogeyman types, and I'm going to set that to 0 by pressing the left arrow key. Now, why do I want no bogeymen? Because bogeymen are an adventurer's worst nightmare. Bogeymen like to come out at night when you are traveling alone, and there are often a lot of them, and usually when that happens, you can say bye bye adventurer. So, because I will probably want to travel at night, or you will probably want to travel at night alone at some point without being bothered by these bogeymen, then this is a really nice option to put to 0. So once that's done and you press escape to get out of the options, you can now just press enter on the world that you are on, and there's no need to save these options. And now it will start generating the world. And so if I just quickly pause the generation here, you can actually have a look around at the world. And although there is a graphics pack installed, it doesn't actually affect the world generation map that you see here. So this is not the same kind of graphics you will see when you actually play the game. These are the original ones. So these pink arrows here represent mountains. Usually pink will mean something evil or terrifying. And what kind of biome it is will affect the kind of creatures that live there. Things like this is a dwarven civilization, and you can see the name at the top of the screen, the dwarven hillocks of Melbil something like that. These yellow eyes over here is an elven civilization. And if we go, let's see, where's a human civilization? Over here. And these funny symbols over here are human towns and hamlets. Oh, and there's even a tomb there, with the brown lines being roads. Anyway, this is just the actual world generation. You can see it creates islands and patches of ice and mountains and rivers and all these kind of things that actually exist in a real world. And it will even generate its history. So you can see we're up to year 99 now. And if I continue with the world generation, that will continue. People will keep growing older and eating and killing each other and stealing things and so on and so forth. All the things that happen in a fantasy world. And you can stop it at any time. Usually it will stop automatically once 80% of the big bad creatures are dead. But you don't have to wait until then. You can just press pause, and once it's paused, you can then just press use the world as it currently exists, which is the U key. And it's done. So this is called Tethata, the Destined Land, and I will accept this world. So now it will just export all the data from the world so you can actually play it. And depending on the size of the world you created, of course, this can take longer, well, this can take more or less time. Saving coins and their beliefs and the civilizations. And done. So now that the world is created, you can actually start playing. And you will want to choose an adventurer, not Dwarf Fortress. Dwarf Fortress is so much more exceedingly difficult than adventurer mode. It would take many more videos than just one to get you started with that. So you can see that on the calendar, it went through 14 days of real world time, real world, of your whatever world it is you generated time. And that will happen every time you create a character. So a little warning to give you now is that your character will probably die, and that's normal. In Dwarf Fortress, losing is fun, is the official motto. And when your adventurer inevitably dies, that the game will be saved, the world will continue existing, and you can just create a new hero just 2 weeks later. And you'll probably even be able to go and find where your old character died. Maybe the body will still be there. Maybe the thing that killed them will still be there and also kill you. Who knows? Stranger things have happened in Dwarf Fortress. Anyway, moving on now, we have the race choice for your adventurer. And you can see here we have Dwarf, Elf, Goblin, Human, and Intelligent Wilderness Creature. Intelligent Wilderness Creature, I went too far then. You can see there are quite a lot of them. There are so many different kinds of intelligent wilderness creature in this world. And depending on what they are will also kind of affect their attributes and their statistics. So, for example, a tiger man will probably have pretty strong nails, and if he scratches you with them, you're probably going to take more damage than if a human scratched you and things like that. They're probably also bigger and stronger because of the whole tiger thing. So you can have some fun creating characters that are related to some kind of animal. One problem with that though is that a lot of armor will not fit these intelligent wilderness creatures. So the easiest choice to go with usually is a human or a dwarf. And I'm going to go with a human because that is overall probably the easiest start so that you don't get stuck in some dwarf fortress and you can't find your way out. Humans all start in towns and villages, which are really easy to find your way around. And the first thing you need to choose here is demigod, status demigod. Although it says hero and peasant, and hero sounds pretty nice, hero will not really get you that far. And demigod, even though it sounds super amazing, likewise will probably not get you that far. It's really, really easy to die in this game. That's why it's so difficult. But anyway, choosing demigod and moving to the next screen here, you can now choose your civilization. And this affects basically where you will spawn on the map. And looking at the map, you can see in light blue where the civilization is when you go down the list. And so I'm going to choose, that's an elven civilization, those are dwarves, dwarves. Okay, this is a human civilization, so I'll choose this one, the Empire of Beginnings. Okay, so now I get my attributes and skills to choose, and because I chose demigod for my character, this is why I have so many points. And so the first thing you're going to do is put both strength and agility up to superior. Strength will affect obviously your strength, which means how hard you can swing your weapon, and agility is how fast you are, so how fast you can swing your weapon, and also how well you can dodge. High toughness. Toughness will affect how much damage you take from attacks, or whether you get damage from attacks. And endurance is how much energy you have, because you really don't want to suddenly become tired in the middle of combat, because then you are likely to die. So the final one here is not focus, willpower. And willpower, well, basically you need willpower because the game also simulates pain. So if somebody hits you with a very heavy mace in the shoulder and it breaks the bone, that is probably going to be excruciatingly painful. And it wouldn't be, unexpected for you to pass out from that pain. And so depending on your willpower will depend on if you will pass out from that pain or not. Of course, if you are passed out on the floor, it's very easy for people to bash your brains in. so not passing out tends to be high on the priority list. So once all the attributes are done there, you can then move on to these skills. And in general, you will want to focus on just one weapon skill so that you can be good at it rather than not so good at a few of them. So the one I'm going to choose here is a swordsman. Swords tend to be fairly, what's the word I'm looking for here? Numerous in the world. So I'll take swordsman. And then the next skill I'm going to want is fighter, which is a general fighting skill and affects all actions you do that are related to fighting. And I'm going to put this up to competent. Then we have some miscellaneous skills such as observer and swimmer. Of course, if you don't have any swimming skill, you can't swim. Try to cross a river, you'll drown. That's no good. Climber, sometimes you might need to climb, not very often, but if you do need to do it, having at least 1 point can help you out in that respect. And then ambusher. It's nice to get a quick head start on this skill, although it can be pretty easy to raise in the game already. So now we have the 3 defensive combat skills, shield user, armor user, and dodger, and they pretty much do what they say on the tin. Shield user affects how well you can use a shield, armor affects how well you can use your armor, and dodger is how how good you are at dodging attacks. So for all of these, I'm going to put them up to competent as well. And I now have 13 points left. There's one more thing I want to get, which is a reader. Now, in this game, you can't actually read unless you have a point in reading. And that's helpful or not so helpful if you don't have it, because if you go to a town and there'll be signs saying, go here for this, or if you want to find some leather armor, you can find it in this shop. Well, you won't be able to read those signs. They will just be jumbled garbage to you. There are also some other things you might want to read that contain perhaps the secrets of life and death, and if you don't have a reading skill, you won't be able to read those. And you might be a little bit sad about that. So I have 8 points left, so I'm going to put my last point here into fighter, so that I am a skilled fighter, and I have 0 points left. So obviously I put most of my points into swordsman, second most into skilled fighter, or just into fighter, and then shield user, armor user, and dodger all at competent level, which is nothing special, but it's enough to get me started, while also being good enough with my sword to actually hit people and kill them before the combat goes on too long and I lose a leg or something like that. And just a note, losing a leg is pretty much the end of your adventurer, unless you want to spend a very long time on crutches. So now that the skills are done, we move on to the extra customization options of your character, where you can choose their name and their gender and also their background. So at the bottom right corner of the screen, you can see set first name, customize name, random name, and then become human. It doesn't really mean become human. What it means is become human, male. I have no problem with my character being a female, so I'm going to leave it as it is. If I want to randomize my name, sometimes you can get some pretty cool or funny names. At the moment it's Cobalt Tooth, Braided Path, Whipped Covered, Seared Wild, Guild Reward, Dress Mirrors, Hop Chances, Lunches Trampled. That's a nice one. My name is Eddie Lunches Trampled. Perfect. And I am a newly minted hearth person of the great something something and something. And I am a worshipper of Ado Romanced Search, the god of thunder and lust. Wow, that sounds like a really awesome god. So I'm going to keep that one. You can change your background with the plus or minus keys, and this will change where your character starts, whether it's in this hamlet or that town, and whether they are important or not. And the only important people you can be is a hearth person, which is a god of the local lord. But I'm happy with this choice for now, so I'm going to accept and go on to the next screen. And this is where you get to the physical attributes or kind of physical aspects of your character. And there isn't that much you can customize here. You can only randomize it in 2 different ways. So you can randomize it where it kind of respects the population information of the civilization that you apparently come from. or it will fully randomize and there'll be any options available to your character, any kind of hair or eyes or so on and so forth. Now, there is one thing you do want to look out for when you are going through these descriptions, and that is the one about muscles. And you can see here in the second line it says, she has incredible muscles stretched over a broad body. And that is one of the best results you can get. That means a really big body and then also really super huge muscles, which means good strength. But that's not the case for everyone. Just because I chose superior strength, that can change. And if I fully randomize it now, you'll see what I mean. You can see here, I'm not tall, but has incredible muscles. Again, not tall. This one is nothing about muscles. That's no good. So generally, I will always choose tall or broad with incredible muscles, just for you to get, the most out of your character. Like I said, it's really, really easy to die. So there is no shame in taking every advantage you can get. So here we go. I have incredible muscles over a broad body. That's fine by me. And then we get into a kind of quirky aspect of character creation, which is your character's values. What do they think is important? What do they think is not important? And this can be very funny. It doesn't really have so much impact on, actually playing your adventurer and going and killing things and looting and so on and so forth. It only has some minor effects in the social aspect side of when you're talking to people or maybe you want to argue with them or something like that. I'm not going to get into all the nuance and the variety of things you can do in adventure mode at the moment. Just stick to quickly creating a character that works. So if you do want to change these things, again, you can just randomize it, and let's see what we've got here. She would never pass up a chance for a good fist fight, though she is disturbed by this since she values quiet, so at least in the abstract. She lives at a high energy kinetic pace. Let's try something else. She personally respects power, values leisure time, values cunning, and finds maintaining decorum a silly, fumbling waste of time. Okay, that sounds fine for me, but if you would like to change these things, you can press F to get to full customization, and then for each option here, you can just move the green to the left or the right to determine if they really like it, they really value it, or they don't. So if I take, for example, power and I put it up to +3, and then I go back, we can read now that she personally believes that the acquisition of power over others is the ideal goal in life and worthy of the highest respect. You can have a lot of fun reading what they think when they really value some of these things, but I'm not going to play with this anymore. I'm happy with that choice. So I will press enter, and finally the character will now be created. And here you are, done. You can see the graphics are a little bit different. I'm obviously inside some building here. And I have a little message that says, you finally got your equipment together, such as it is. Now it's time for action and adventure. In the rush of excitement, you've forgotten where you're going to go. Perhaps some of your friends here can remind you. And press enter, and you are ready to go. So that's it, guys. This is not going to show you how to play adventure mode. Maybe I can make a video showing you that if you'd like. This is just how to actually go from EXE into your adventurer, and we are done. So thanks for watching, guys, and come back next time.